Okay, we are
Yeah,
recording. Jesse Hartman, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Um, yeah, I'm very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, look, just before we press record, I asked you if you had all your song choices ready. I mean, I've been sent them in advance, which is the way we do things on Off the Beaten Track. And when I asked you if you had your song choices done, you look reluctant to kind of take that leap and commit to what you've done.
Oh, it's really hard. Yeah, yeah. Well, your questions are very evocative, and they kind of like you know tapped into my teen years, and so lots of different things popped into my head. So I might need your help in narrowing down some things.
All right, we can do that. We
Yeah,
can do
yeah,
that. That sounds
and that
good.
might be fun. It's like a game show.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
do that. All right. Well, let's
yeah,
kick things off.
sure.
And the first track I'm going to ask you, please, Jesse, is to tell me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
Well, like I said, I'm just going to throw out a few things. I was like a child in the 70s, so Lou Reed was a big deal for me, and like the most famous intro, like was like Lou Reed's "Sweet Jane" on the Rock and Roll Animal record. It's like
Nice.
this absurd. He went heavy metal for a minute there, and so it was like he had. I think the band was from Yes, and it was just a very strange departure for him, and he had this crazy intro to Sweet Jane, um, and like that was just like a big part of my childhood. Um, and then I had some others that were, the 70s just had like the greatest, craziest intros to songs. It was just the Springsteen's Incident on 57th Street, and then Lou Reed's Street Hassle also had a wild intro. And then when punk hit, like Gang of Four's Anthrax was like a feedback intro, and I'd never heard anything like that before, and that was kind of like a big deal also. So can I narrow this down? You have a choice of those that
No, it's not for me to choose.
it's
That
not for
pressure's
you
on
to
you,
choose.
Jesse.
Ah, man. And you're gonna play this song, whatever it is?
We put together a little Spotify playlist to accompany the show so people can go and it
Wow.
makes for the most surreal playlist because there's no theme to it. It's just somebody's kind of, life in song. So it jumps all over the place. So it can be quite a chaotic playlist.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. All right, then I'm gonna just go with like Gang of Four's Anthrax,
Solid
and
choice.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll let you know that's what I would have chose as well.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Tell me how you approach intro and going way back to Sammy and Laptop and how you initially was songwriting back there and your intros. How has that changed, if at all, in your approach to uh, songwriting and intros now? And by that, Jesse, I'll caveat that with the kind of rapid thumbs and shortening attention spans that seem to be encompassing everybody. Does any of that sort of filter through into your creative process?
Uh, Maybe, yeah. I mean, so we're gonna talk about like my own intros to songs, basically. Um, wow. Okay. Well, like on the new record, uh, yeah, there's been a lot of like discussion now about like, how quickly to get into the songs and stuff. A lot of the intros, I think there's a lot of cool intros going on in my new stuff. And some of it is like sound effects and strange synths. So for uh, like a song like Thirst, I'm using like a rocket ship, like some old sounds from like a launch, a rocket launch, a 10, 9, 8 countdown kind of thing. I've been using a lot of like sound effects because I think the songs are kind of cinematic. I make films too, so yeah, almost every song starts with some kind of weird sound effect scape. There's a single coming out in January about Jan 6 and the insurrection, so I use like that, the pounding on the door and breaking the glass. I've used like bits of my child Charlie from when he was a kid, when we like first kind of came up with some of the songs. So you hear his voice, like a little child voice in some of the songs, like in I Don't Know, which was a single from like a month or two ago. So yes, I am playing around a lot with intros, but still trying to get the vocals coming in pretty quickly. And so yeah, it's funny you bring up intros. It's kind of a big topic, I would
Yeah.
say, in the studio. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you now to tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, Jesse.
Uh, yeah, that was tough also, but I'm gonna go with this first there's a first Talking Heads single that came out called "Love Is Like a Building on Fire." Um, I think it was only a 45. I don't think it really was on any album, um, and it had great artwork, like handwritten stuff. I don't think I'd ever seen that before, and that was that was coming out of my older brother's bedroom. I had a brother that was 14 years older than me, and he was going to CBGB's every night, and I think he saw the Talking Heads maybe 20 times, like in that first year. I mean, it's like 75 maybe, or six, I don't know, something, you know, 74, 75, and I was hearing all the music coming out of his room, and he was giving me stuff and trying to teach me, and so I remember that single being important to me, and it was, it was a love song, but it was a weird love song, and I think that um, it it kind of hooked me and sent me on a certain path musically.
What was the emotion, if you had to pinpoint it?
Uh, that song was kind of joyous. It had like birds tweeting and horns, um, and you're kind of just discovering the opposite sex maybe at that point, and I don't know, it's kind of like a joyous, uplifting, um, love kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Um,
Did that relationship with Talking Heads that started very early then, did that continue throughout their career for you?
it did, up to a point. um, I think the first concert I ever went to was the Remain in Light tour. I think I was 14 at the
That's
time.
pretty cool, man.
That's not a
That's
bad
pretty
first
cool.
concert. Yeah, yeah. It was like the year before the Stop Making Sense stuff, and it was like when they first appeared with the big band. And yeah, I was going with my brother and his friends, and you know, it was pretty cool. And so that sorry about that thing. Don't know how to shut it off. I have a band called Laptop, but don't know how to shut my dings off. So, um, uh, sorry about that. Um, so yes, that concert and then the movie Stop Making Sense came out, and yeah, that kind of like was the beginning of when I was like really starting to be in bands and stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of the later Talking Heads records didn't mean as much to me, but yeah, those early albums were a big deal, and they really influenced like my new album because all those albums were recorded in the Caribbean, at this studio called Compass Point, and which was started by the guy who started Island Records, and I think that's kind of why some of their records have some Caribbean influences in I recorded some of this record in on an island called Nevis, and so I tried to kind of use some local musicians in the same way, and I think it kind of had a big influence on what I was doing
Well, look, let's stay in the formative years, and I'm going to ask you now to tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
now. I think "Gone Daddy Gone," "Violent Femmes." Uh, yeah, "Violent Femmes" were like a big thing in the school days. Um, in like age 16, 17, around that time.
Did you enjoy school?
Kind of had like a love hate thing with it. Um, I think it's when I look back on it now, kind of a mixed thing. It definitely had a big impact on me, and in Sammy, the whole second album is about my school days, and so it's something I like to think about and write about, and kind of a tragic comic kind of period of time, and it's definitely given me a lot of material. That's for sure.
Did you know what you wanted to be when you was at school? Was a musician a viable option?
Well, I don't know if it was a viable option, but it was definitely like the main thing that I wanted to do. I mean, from a pretty early age, I was pretty set on being a rock star of sorts.
Yeah,
There was a lot of practicing in the mirror in like at age 10. I definitely wanted to be Lou Reed um, from a pretty early age. Um, and when I was in college, we spent a lot of time like playing music, uh, probably too much time. So it kind of got in the way of like the real stuff. And I left college to go play with Richard Hell and the Voidoids and do a tour of Japan. So it was, a pretty, powerful pull, from the
Harold
beginning.
Busher.
What's that?
Harold Bush. I'm still getting that thing. I can still hear my own voice. It's coming back at
Oh,
me again. So I don't know what's happening, but it's repeating
sorry.
back to me.
I
But
don't know.
yeah, tell me about going on tour
Oh,
with Richard Hell.
yeah. Well, and that's what my latest single was about that trip. This song called Indie Hero. Um, well, I was 19, and I I had a demo tape from my college band, and I went over to Richard's apartment and knocked on his door and asked him to listen to my demo tape. My brother knew him, so you know, my brother thought I was a little crazy to go over to his house and try to do that, but I guess I was a little crazy. So yeah, I knocked on Richard's door. He let me in, which was nice. He liked the tape, and he hadn't played music in a little while, and he was kind of interested. And his friend Chris Stein from Blondie had told him that if he ever wanted to record at his loft, that Richard could bring over any band he wanted and do some recording. So that's what happened. So like at age 19, I was like doing a demo at the Blondie studio. Sorry about that. With Richard. So that was pretty cool.
That's as cool
um,
as it gets.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so we had a band called Worrying Thing. Uh, it was me and Luke, which ended up being Sammy later. Um, and I wasn't singing at that time. I was playing lead guitar. So uh, we did three songs there. And then, like, one night when I was like driving Richard home, he was like, listen, if I ever play music again, it'd be fun to have you play guitar. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, sure, that would be great. Uh, then I got a call from Richard about a tour that he was offered to go to Japan. So I played guitar on that tour, and so did Ivan Julian, who was the original guitarist for the band. I was basically playing Robert Quine's parts for Richard, which is absurd because Robert Quine's like the greatest guitarist of all time. And, I was not the greatest guitarist of
Yeah,
all time. I was 19. Um, but I knew all those parts because I'd sort of grown up playing
mm,
them, and um, so yeah, we did this like fabulous 2 week tour of Japan,
that's
and
incredible.
I thought, I was like, oh yeah, this is what life is like in the music business, like, but you know, that was my last tour of Japan, so it was a pretty wild first trip, yeah.
I'm going to ask you now, Jesse, to tell me the first song that you remember buying from a record store, please.
Well, I want to say it was the Cars' first album, but it actually was Barry Manilow's greatest hits. I think I was like 5 years old, and I wanted Copacabana by Barry Manilow, and I think my brother wasn't thrilled when I brought that home, and he was kind of like, "Go back and get something else that you've heard on the radio." Uh, then I got the Cars' first album, so let's say it's the Cars' first album.
I mean,
Yeah.
Copacabana's a good tune, man.
Yeah. 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 I know that was good too. And I think I still have both of those records on my shelf somewhere.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, tell me a little bit about, you know, New York and record shops, because for people, in the UK, our record stores are dying rapidly, and we've only got a
Yeah.
few. We've only really got the rough trades really left in town, and a few other small indies. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the record store and your relationship with it as a young man and now.
Um, yeah, the record store was like um, was everything. I think that was like it was like that was the internet. That was
Yeah,
your kind of conduit to uh, culture. And I remember like the guy who worked at the record store was very important, because like he was your Google. He was like, he was the guy who was going to tell you what to get and what's out and what's happening. Yeah, so it was a pretty important place, and there was like two or three in my little. I grew up right outside of New York City, and so we would come into the city, and there were amazing record stores like on St. Mark's Place and those kinds of places. But in my little town, I had two or three record stores, and yeah, it was a big important place to go. Maybe a few times a week probably. Record store now for me, not such a thing. Um, Although I just saw my niece play at, I guess it was Rough Trade in Manhattan. Um, so that was kind of cool to be back in the store. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether to do vinyl for my new record, which I probably will do. I think. Yeah.
fantastic, fantastic. We'll move on to the new music that you're doing shortly. But before that, we're going to go clubbing, and I'm going to ask you to tell me the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Jesse.
Uh, I know it's kind of on the nose, but I was gonna. I was going to say Iggy Pop's night clubbing um, for that one, just because it seemed kind of perfect. I was never like a huge like dance club person, although I did do that a few times, like at the Limelight in New York City. But I was more in the rock club
Yeah. I
mode.
mean, this question can lend itself to like, your rock clubs and dive bars and stuff. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it so it was CBGB's a big thing for you.
Yeah, it was. It was, by the time I was like actually playing shows, it was still going. And, like when I was in high school, we 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 did an audition at CBGB's. Like I think it was like Monday nights. You could just like you could book an audition, and that was like a really big deal for us. So we like spent all summer practicing for that audition. Um, we did that again in college and played shows there in college. By the time I was in Sammy, though, I think CB's was still there, but it had morphed into something a little different,
Sure.
more like the hardcore matinee kind of place. So it wasn't like we were playing shows at places like Pianos and Brownies and Mercury Lounge and that sort of thing. CB's had become something else, and now sadly it is a clothing store,
Yeah.
which really is terrible. But yeah, it was like it was Mecca basically when I was a kid. My older sister took me there uh, when I was a kid. We walked in randomly, saw a band called the Pet Clams from Outer Space, and yeah, it was like uh, and Hilly was still like at the door. I mean,
Really?
it was yeah, it was pretty cool. So that was I think I wrote an article about CBGBs when I was in high school. Yeah, it was like the temples, the church, the synagogue.
Love that. Jesse, I'm going to take you home for your next track, and I'm going to ask you to tell me a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Well, Lou Reed is from my home county. Um, he grew up just probably 15 minutes from where I grew up. And so I was just going to pick a Lou Reed song called Coney Island Baby, which,
Nice.
has a Long Island feel. That's where we both grew up in Long Island. And, it's a place, it's suburban and, uh, a place you want to kind of escape from and get to the city as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think like, and I always loved Lou, and it was, I felt like I was like the child of Lou of sorts, and that was kind of what I was kind of aspiring to musically, and I felt like a cultural almost family connection to him because he had probably similar parents and similar house and similar experience, and so that was like a big thing for me.
Okay. I'm going to ask you for your last track, and this is where I'm going to ask you to let me know the name of a song and an artist that you think many of the listeners of this show may not know that you would like them to hear.
Uh, well, if you can find it, there's a song called "Past Tense" by the Student Teachers uh, that was the end credit song for my brother's feature film called No Picnic, which is gonna get a kind of re-release this year. Um, and yeah, it's just like a classic, like uh, sort of punk, art punk song that I always loved that probably most people never heard. and so I thought that would be a good one to pick, and it kind of goes with this film that is about the East Village in the early '80s. Um, it's kind of this beautiful black and white film that Vim Vendors helped produce and that my brother made. And so, yeah, past tense by the student teachers.
And what's the film called?
The film's called No Picnic, and it has a kind of like it's like a New York City version of like Stranger Than Paradise or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's black and white. It's really beautiful. It's got some cameos by like Louis Guzman, who's been in a million independent films since, but this is one of the first films he did. Even Steve Buscemi has like a little quick cameo in it. Um, and has great music. I'm even in it. I have a quick cameo. I'm like 15 drinking a beer on a staircase in a club.
Love it. Love it. You mentioned as well, just before we move on to what you're doing musically now, whilst we're shouting out artists, you mentioned earlier that you saw your niece's band. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Um, yeah, my family's like very musical. I mean, I think in my generation, I'm the music guy, but then all my nieces and nephews play music, and my niece is Odetta Hartman, and that's what she plays under, um, and she's on a UK label, and yeah, she's made two or three records. Um, and then my other niece, Camelia Hartman, uh, is also singing and doing a lot of music. And so when I played at Sony Hall in September as Laptop, I got them all involved, and we had a band of like 13 people. It was very Talking Heads, actually, and they were next to me singing. My son Charlie, who has been part of Laptop this year, he was to my left. My nieces were to my right, and then there was some singers from the Caribbean that were on the record that were up there too, and a horn section, and congas. It was pretty awesome. It was
That's so
really, really
cool.
cool. Yeah,
That's so cool.
it sounded amazing.
And so let's talk about the music that you're putting out. Like what's happening?
So I took like a 15-year break, and in that time, I guess I wrote a lot of stuff because I didn't even realize it because when I finally decided to go back to the studio, we did like 80 songs in like 3 days. And
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy. So we picked the first 10, and then I recorded that in Spain, in Valencia, which is this city that has very affordable studio time, and that I've always liked because they kind of liked Sammy a lot in Valencia, so I just like that place. And then took the tracks to New York and did overdubs and did some overdubs in the Caribbean, as I mentioned. And yeah, the first four of the 10 came out as singles, and then there'll be a few more. I'm kind of just doing like a single for every song on the record, which is weird, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And every 6 weeks, dropping another single, and each one has like its own video because I make films, and so that's kind of fun to just put a video together for each song, and then the album will come out in June. It's called On This Planet, um, and the some of it sounds like old Laptop, and some of it sounds a little bit uh, different, a little newer Laptop with maybe some more organic elements thrown in. There are like steel drums and some crazy horns and things like that, which has been really fun, actually.
And how many shows have you got planned?
Um, that's a good question. That is kind of being like figured out. Um, we've done two shows in London and this big show in New York. So I would imagine like in May I'll do, a show in London and a show in New York. Maybe tour. Um, we'll see.
Fantastic. Favorite venue to play in London?
Uh, wow, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, the, the biggest, craziest show I did as Laptop was at the garage. Um, so that has always kind of left a little bit of a mark on me.
Fantastic. Um, Jesse, if people want to keep up to speed with all of your creative output, laptop and everything, where is the best place to keep up to speed?
Um, Laptop the band is like kind of the thing on all the different platforms. So like, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's all at Laptop the Band, and the website is Laptop the Band. Um, so that little handle, I think, covers a lot of stuff. Um,
Well, if it's cool with you, Jesse, when this comes out, we'll tag you in it. So if people aren't following you already, we'll make it nice and easy for them to go and follow
all right,
Laptop.
all right,
Um,
cool.
it's been so lovely getting to talk
Yeah,
records with you. Thank you so much
yeah,
for giving up your time
yeah.
today, Jesse.
Thanks. Good.
Absolute pleasure. And thanks to Lydia for facilitating this as well.
Yeah,
Lovely,
yeah.
Lydia. All right. Thanks ever so much, Jesse. I'm going to press
All
stop,
right.
but don't go anywhere.